Unfortunately, most intermediate English learners like yourself naturally make the mistake of translating in their head when speaking English. You think of something in your native language, you want to say it in English, and then you translate it almost word for word into the English language. And it does not work. And I can tell you right now that this is one of the biggest reasons why you are stuck at the intermediate level of communication and you are not an advanced communicator at the C1 or C2 levels of English. In order to be an advanced communicator in English, you do need to fix this. And the good news is there are simple ways to fix it, and I'll show you in this video. Now, to preface this, I've helped many people in the past with their English, and there was this one student who was technically very proficient. He actually had pretty solid grammar, and he also had a pretty wide range of vocabulary, too. But in every conversation, there was a noticeable delay. You could clearly see him trying to translate the words from his native language into English because all of it did not come out very naturally. And he thought that he just needed to think faster in order to solve this. But honestly, we just needed to change the entire way that he thought and processed information in English overall. Simply put, we focused on processing English for him instead of translating English. Literally within weeks, his pauses began to stop. And then eventually, he became a spontaneous English communicator. He was no longer struggling to think of how to say things in English. He was just thinking naturally and spontaneously speaking English as if it were second nature. In other words, he developed the English side of his brain and how to process information on the English side of his brain to the point where he could just use his English side of his brain and just think and speak in English without even having to note his native language. So, if you want to become an advanced communicator in English around the C1 level or above, then you will need to fix this. And if you apply the 3 mindset shifts I'll give you, I'm pretty confident that you'll easily be able to get rid of this bad habit. Now, the first mindset shift or even a technique for you is visualization. Now, if you've watched any of our previous videos, you know that Arc English is very big on visualization. So, simply put, instead of translating a word and thinking of the equivalent word in your native language, just associate an image to the word in English. So, for example, for this object here, this is a pen in English. I'm just going to associate my imagery of this pen to the word pen in English. If my native language is French, I'm not going to try to translate pen to stylo in French. I'm just going to picture the image of this when I see the word pen anywhere in the English language. This is a small and easy example, but this is really the way that you're going to need to approach using and acquiring English vocabulary if you want to get rid of this bad habit. Translating words back into your native language is something that you really do when you're at the beginner levels of English, but not something that you should continue to do when you're at the upper intermediate level and trying to get to the advanced level. And essentially, what this is going to do for you is it's going to help you immediately identify and correspond English words to everything that you can see and label around you, which is going to help you become a much more spontaneous communicator in the English language. So, something that you should do today, if you cannot already do it, is look at literally everything that you come across on a day-to-day basis. That could be everything in the room around you, everything that you see when you as soon as you walk outside your apartment or your house, and then actually see if you can label everything in the English language and not your native language. You'll know if you're doing this right if you get to the point where you can identify objects in the English language or new words or expressions in the English language that you learn, and you don't know how to translate them back to your native language, or you don't know how to label them in your native language. When you get to the point where certain parts of your English vocabulary become more robust than your native language, then you'll know that you're doing this correctly and you're actually developing the true English side of your brain. The next shift you need to make in your mindset is having a no translation mindset. Now, simply put, if you come across a word or an expression that you do not understand, always try to discover what it means only in the English language. Don't immediately have the reflex to think, how would I describe this or define this in my native language? And then start translating and start thinking in your native language again. Try to learn how to learn only in English and not in your native language. Now, for beginners, I would highly recommend that you learn grammar using a grammar book written in your native language, outlining the differences between English and your native language. But if you're at the upper intermediate level, you should not be learning with your other native language in the picture. It should be completely out of the picture if you're at the upper intermediate level. You should only be learning in English. If you can process information only in English on the English side of your brain, this is going to do wonders for your ability to become an advanced communicator. More specifically, this is going to deepen your understanding of everything in English if you can actually define it and learn it all in the English language. So, if you come across complex ideas, you're going to do one of two things. A, you're going to try to paraphrase it and dumb it down, as we would say, in English and try to work your way through the definition in English. Or B, which is what I've done when I had to learn a new language and what I'd recommend you should do, is try to guess what the new word or expression means based on the context by which it is delivered. And this leads to the third mindset shift, or another technique for you, really, which is just monologuing. Now, I'm not sure about you, but with myself, I definitely talk to myself in my head. And even sometimes I talk to myself out loud. Whenever you're doing this, as small as it might seem, you need to always do it in English. This may seem like a really small detail, but if you can consistently always monologue in English and not your native language, and if you can do that for a prolonged period of time, you're going to be an extremely natural English speaker. This is a huge form of English immersion, and you can do it without even needing to be living in an English speaking region. Tiny habits like this is exactly what's going to make you a spontaneous English communicator, and it's going to make speaking English and expressing your thoughts out loud second nature. You won't even think about it. Translating won't even cross your mind. You'll immediately and instantly be able to respond to questions in English and express how you feel or what you're thinking about something in English. In other words, English will become automatic for you if you can develop a small habit like this among the other things I've shared with you in this video. So make sure to do this as frequently as possible because honestly, it's a huge game changer. It definitely was for me. And I genuinely believe you can have the same results that I had when I used this when I needed to learn a new language. If you're somebody who does not talk to themselves that often and you do not monologue, you can try to start with small things. Just talk about what you're going to do during the day when you wake up in the morning. Talk about what you did do when you go to bed at night. When you're in the shower, talk about how the things that happened throughout the day made you feel. Just try to express yourself, even if it's small, even if it's about things that are or are not important. Really try to do it in English. And I promise you, this habit will make a huge difference over time. It may be unnatural at first if you're not already doing this, but I highly recommend that you at least try it. So to recap, shift one, visualization. Visualize imagery and experiences with words and expressions instead of translating back to your native language. Shift number 2, adopt a no translation mindset. Force yourself to guess what new expressions or new words mean based on how they were used, and try to teach yourself how to learn solely in the English language and not in your native language. And shift 3 is monologuing, a small habit that can change your entire life if used correctly. These are intentional cognitive shifts that are going to change the entire way that you think and process English in your head. And in turn, this will eventually turn into how you produce English spontaneously as an advanced communicator if you get there. These three shifts will completely eliminate the bad habit of translating words in your head and will make you genuinely a natural English speaker. Now, if you got any value from this video, be sure to like the video to let the YouTube algorithm know that this type of content is useful for other English learners. If you're a returning viewer and you have any questions at all, leave a comment down below and I will be sure to answer you. If you're new to ARC English, leave a comment down below letting me know where you're from and what your native language is. I'm always very curious to know. And if you want a simple and straightforward study plan to go from the B2 level to the C1 level of English in the next few months, then be sure to watch the next video on the screen.